Audit Commission finds too many problems with lifts at public housing estate. 2 people are arrested for impersonating doctors and injecting customers with Botox. And Mongolia wants to strengthen business ties with Hong Kong. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. In the latest report from the Audit Commission, lift breakdowns at public housing estates are found to happen too often and for way too long. Another problem, catering services at the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The auditor also noted the university's insufficient measures to safeguard national security when it comes to their tendering documents and contracts. In Hong Kong, public housing estates usually have more than 40 stories, and that makes lift safety all the more important. A tenant at this public housing estate laments lifts at his building took turns to break down at least once every week, and the worst case saw a month-long service suspension. In the latest report from the Audit Commission between 2020 and April this year, more than 31,000 lift breakdowns were recorded at public housing estates, some 220 lifts out of operation for more than 2 days. The longest suspension was 89 days. The Audit Commission said the main reasons are component malfunctioning or overloaded electric generators. Some 140 lifts have been in use for 35 years or more, but a quarter of them are still excluded from the scheme for replacement. It noted that the Housing Department has a target for lift upgrades to be completed within 7.5 months. But the auditor found that among 238 upgraded lifts, only 1 was reopened for use within that time frame. Even once work on the lift is finally completed, it can still take weeks for it to be reopened, the auditor found. The auditor urged authorities to shorten the lift shutdown periods as far as possible to minimize public disruption. For barrier-free access and facilities for the disabled, the Audit Commission urged relevant departments to step up inspection and maintenance. This as they found damage at tactile guide paths or multifunctional sensor maps at the estates. In response to the report, Director of Housing, Rosanna Law, agreed with the auditor's recommendations. Another part of the audit report was on the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The Commission said that CUHK needs to take measures to strengthen guidance and regulations relating to campus facilities operated by external entities on safeguarding national security-related matters. Meanwhile, the washout noted 90% or 29 of the catering outlets on campus were not provided for the exclusive use of CUHK students and staff. The police arrested 2 women on suspicion of impersonating doctors and injecting customers with Botox at a beauty center. The suspects were operating without a license and were in possession of Part 1 poisons under the Pharmacy and Poisons Ordinance. Authorities found large quantities of Botox and antibiotics while investigating a commercial building unit at 655 Nathan Road in Mongkok. The beauty center involved in the case is AM Beauty. The 2 female suspects included a 36-year-old manager and 34-year-old staff member. Chinese taikonauts visiting Hong Kong continued their visit in the city today. The 4 astronauts visited 3 schools and talked with students and teachers. On the second day of their 4-day trip, 2 taikonauts went to Pui Kiu College at North Point, where they met about 500 students and teachers for more than 2 hours. Astronaut Chen Dong said he actually read a letter sent from a student from Pui Kiu College when he was in space. He also replied. The student who sent the letter was Chen Man Lam, studying in Form 3, and the 2 finally met in person today. Another student was excited to meet the taikonauts and expressed hope that one day he will join their ranks. Senior representatives from Mongolia's financial sector are making a high-level visit to Hong Kong to boost their financial ties with the SAR. TVB News spoke with some members of the delegation, including the head of the country's stock exchange. Some members of the group said they look forward to increased cooperation in energy infrastructure, as well as attracting more Hong Kong people to Mongolia. Timothy Lee reports.
Mongolia and Hong Kong, 2 places separated by drastically different physical features. Traditionally, Mongolia is a vast realm where horses roam freely, while Hong Kong is one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. But a desire to foster a closer economic relationship has brought the pair together, with China serving as the familiar link. This week, representatives of the Mongolian government and its financial sector traveled to the SAR for a high-level visit, meeting with officials including Undersecretary for Financial Services and the Treasury, Joseph Chan. Speaking with TVB News, the chairman of the Financial Regulatory Commission of Mongolia, as well as the chief executive officer of the Mongolian Stock Exchange, shared their views about the evolution of economic ties between Mongolia and Hong Kong.
We try to open up the arms to the world. And as a Hong Kong, it's a highly developed market capital, and there is a huge potential, special investors to invest in Mongolia. We are actually rich in mineral resources. And I would like to mention one point that even though for now, almost 70% of Mongolian territory unexplored. We're looking to have a secondary listings Mongolian companies to do in Hong Kong exchange.
Despite having a land area that stretches over 1.5 million square kilometers, Mongolia is home to only around 3.3 million people, making it the world's most sparsely populated country. Yet, Mongolia is abundant in natural resources, with the nation possessing large deposits of gold, copper, and coal. Around 90% of these materials are exported to China alone. This resource-based relationship is set to expand even further with the construction of the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline next year, which will connect the Urengoy gas field in Russia to China through Mongolia.
Minerals is one of the key products which could attract Hong Kong-based investors. I would say that Mongolia could again be a connecting point for Hong Kong as well as Chinese investors to invest into Central Asian regions.
The Consulate General of Mongolia currently estimates around 100 Mongolians reside in Hong Kong. It said it hopes more Mongolians in Hong Kong will forge closer ties and that more Hong Kongers will invest and visit Mongolia in the future. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Chinese scientific research vessel Shenkuo has docked in Hong Kong for the first time. Starting tomorrow till Sunday, the public can board the ship with free guided tours. Organizers hope the 4-day exhibitions and open day could help people understand more about deep-sea exploration and the importance of marine conservation. We took a first-hand look inside the vessel today. These are precious footage taken by researchers on board China's scientific research vessel Shenkuo, which has undertaken around 30 oceanic research missions since 2018. Among them, 8 visits to Mariana Trench, the deepest place on Earth, also home to strange, mysterious life forms. It is also the first Chinese research vessel being funded by private enterprises. Weighing 2,200 tons, the twin-hull ship is gracing our Tsim Sha Tsui harborfront this week, with Hong Kong citizens, students, and tourists welcome to tour around for free.
Marine exploration and how these ships actually work to see this for ourselves, and I think it's a very meaningful thing.
Shenkuo had inspired me a lot about biology, and I am very interested in oceans and seas, so it will be my honor to learn more.
Marine conservation is an area that I'm quite passionate about. I also very much agree with the Shenkuo vessel's ability to kind of create a platform for our community in marine conservation in Hong Kong.
Not only Chinese, it's including international scientists to share their ocean research outcomes to everyone.
It is very difficult to explore the depth because of the incredibly harsh environment down there. That's why we need to develop special tools to explore the deep sea.
These special tools include deep-sea landers that could go as deep as 10,000 meters under the sea, among various advanced Chinese scientific research equipment. Well-furnished rooms too for researchers and crewmen aboard. Also displayed at the exhibition this time is this manned tourist submersible, also nicknamed Ferrari in the Sea. It casts a diving depth of around 100 meters, and it costs tourists some $1,500 per trip. Shenkuo was an eminent scientist and statesman of the Northern Song dynasty. A renowned polymath, Shen was a master in fields of study encompassing mathematics, medical science, physics, astronomy, and literature. Still ahead, workers are finally rescued from collapsed tunnel in India. Welcome back. Today marks day 2 of the second phase of the truce between Hamas and Israel. There is hope an extension can be negotiated, but there are fears a longer war could begin. Qatar mediating to try to prolong the current peace deal. David Garrett reports.
In the West Bank as 30 Palestinian prisoners were freed by Israel. Some had been held in administrative detention without charge. Palestinians, especially those in Gaza, have expressed a desire to see the truce extended amid reports of breaches of the peace on both sides. Talks continue.
Our hope is to reach a sustainable truce that would lead to further negotiations and eventually to an end to this iteration of violence, to this war. And we have always said that we need the push of the whole international community to make sure that that happens. However, we are working with what we have. And what we have right now is a provision to the agreement that allows us to extend days as long as Hamas is able to guarantee the release of at least 10 hostages.
Who did not put a time frame on when any next move would happen. The current pause has also allowed fuel and other aid into areas of Gaza hardest hit. The UN has scaled up deliveries of scarce commodities like petrol, medicine and food during the humanitarian pause. Renewed fighting would jeopardise this. Some relatives are still left waiting. Will their loved ones be on the list, or has the moment for freedom passed? Yossi waits to see if his cousin and her 2 young children will get out of Gaza. He prays Hamas will continue releasing those still held captive. Yossi fears a resumption in fighting may mean he never sees them again.
To address Biden or President Sisi from Egypt or somebody from Qatar to understand that we are speaking about 10 months old little baby and 4 years old little boy. He's still a baby himself. And that they need to do whatever they can to push and make sure that they will be on this list. I don't know when the second chance will be.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi is expected to tell the Security Council that China is pushing for a new consensus on Gaza, which can lead to a lasting ceasefire. China is currently the chair of the United Nations Security Council. Wang, who is also Beijing's director of the Foreign Affairs Committee office, said China stands on the side of peace, conscience, and international law. He made 2 distinct points when meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. First, there should be no reignition of the war. Second, humanitarian supplies to Gaza must be ensured. Wang also hopes for a broader peace conference with UN involvement. He will chair a meeting of the Security Council where he is expected to urge other members to find a way to move beyond temporary ceasefires. In India, 41 construction workers emerged dazed and smiling late on Tuesday from a collapsed tunnel where they have been stranded the last 17 days. It was a happy ending to an ordeal that had gripped India and involved a massive rescue operation that overcame several setbacks. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the rescue efforts and spoke with some of the rescued workers by phone. Nasri Karim has more.
His name is Vijay. It means victory. And indeed, it was an overwhelming moment of triumph for him, 40 fellow trapped workers, rescue teams and the whole of India. An emotional Vijay was the first of 41 construction workers trapped for 17 days inside a collapsed tunnel in Uttarakhand state to emerge from the rubble on Tuesday night. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed the rescue and spoke to some of the workers, most of them low-wage labourers from some of India's poorest areas. Receiving garlands as they emerged, the workers were pulled out on wheeled stretchers through a 90-centimetre wide steel pipe. The entire process taking just 1 hour. With lights flashing, ambulances lined up at the mouth of the tunnel to transport the workers to a hospital 30 kilometres away. On the morning of November 12th, a section of the 4.5-kilometre tunnel collapsed, trapping the workers around 200 metres from the entrance. They had been provided with food, water and oxygen through pipes, but the rescue had been anything but straightforward. From drilling vertically and then switching to horizontally, rescuers had bored through 47 meters of the required 60 meters before the machine broke down on Friday. They spent the past few days using hand drills and their bare hands to scrape away the final dozen meters of debris. This is Modi speaking on the phone to some of the rescued workers, congratulating them on their fortitude and saying their freedom is a great source of happiness for him. If anything bad had happened, I don't know how I'd be able to control my mind, Modi told them. Modi also praised the rescue effort, describing it as an amazing example of humanity and teamwork. The 41 workers all had quick checkups at the makeshift clinic at the site and were deemed to be in good health. The tunnel in the upper Himalayas was part of the Char Dam all-weather road project, connecting various Hindu pilgrimage sites. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
A U.S. military Osprey aircraft carrying 8 people crashed into the sea off southern Japan. The Japanese Coast Guard said at least one person is confirmed dead. The Coast Guard sent a vessel to the crash site. Hirokazu Mitsuno, Japan's chief cabinet secretary, said the government was still confirming details. The Coast Guard received an emergency call from a fishing boat near the crash site off Yakushima, an island south of Kagoshima. It was not immediately clear which U.S. base the Osprey belonged to. The Osprey is a hybrid aircraft that takes off and lands like a helicopter, but during flight can rotate its propellers forward and cruise much faster like an airplane. In the U.S., a cyber attack has forced 30 hospitals in 6 states to divert patients from emergency rooms to other hospitals while postponing some procedures. NBC News has the story.
Tonight, the ongoing cyber attack at Ardent Health Services is forcing roughly a dozen of their hospitals to divert patients away from emergency rooms, impacting critical care in at least 4 states. Ardent, a major national healthcare provider, has now taken its network offline after cyber criminals hijacked their operating systems.
How dangerous can a hack be at a hospital?
Very. It's life-threatening. It's as simple as that. This does put people's lives at risk.
Still scrambling to restore its vital IT operations after the Thanksgiving Day hack, Ardent Health confirms a temporary disruption of operations, adding patient care continues to be delivered safely and effectively, though they cannot confirm the extent of any patient health or financial data that has been compromised.
Now it's sort of like I'm back on the waiting wagon, and that's not good.
In Tulsa, Annie and Eric Wolf say her long-scheduled open heart surgery has been delayed after doctors lost access to her medical records.
I am, however, furious that malicious coders and attackers, hackers, would specifically target a healthcare system and put lives in jeopardy.
With cyber criminals demanding hefty ransoms, extorting nearly $1 billion this year alone by one estimate, a growing number of local governments, universities, school districts, and healthcare providers are becoming targets. But tonight, it's everyday Americans who are so often the victims. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
It is a case of use it or lose it as far as Google are concerned. If you have an account with the internet giant that has been inactive for 2 years, it could be shut down from Friday. To keep the account active, all you have to do is sign back in. Google originally made the announcement in May that dormant accounts would be discontinued. Users have been advised to save crucial information stored on Google's Drives, Docs, and anything important in Gmail. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.